Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning 600 people who assaulted police officers? Fourth time. Can you do it?
I'm happy to. I condemn pedophilia,
Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning?
And I condemn.
You won't do it. People who attacked the Capitol were not going on private tours. They were not just a horn hat guy. It was people like Daniel Rodriguez, who assaulted Michael Fanone, put him in a stroke, got 12 years in prison. The judge said he was an army of hate and violence. Donald Trump pardoned him. It was people like Andrew Paul Johnson, who was just sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing 2 children in Florida. Donald Trump pardoned him.
Welcome to Political Crossfire, where we break down the fiercest political debates. Today, Mehdi Hasan confronts Michael Knowles over January 6 and Donald Trump's decision to pardon people. Mehdi asks him one direct question: can you condemn Trump for those pardons? But instead of giving a clear answer, Michael shifts the conversation to Black Lives Matter, Joe Biden, and other incidents of political violence. Before we begin, subscribe to Political Crossfire and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest political debates and analysis. Let's get into it.
To the question of not whether Trump upheld the Constitution with regards to January 6th, but did he uphold constitutional norms?
Great.
Is that for any one of us in particular?
Particularly you, Michael, but either of you could
I'd
go
love
at
to
it.
answer after Michael.
Sure.
We'll
Yeah.
get 2 minutes and 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure thing. Yes, he did. Again, I'm not convincing anyone that they should love the horn hat guy. That's not the basis on which you're voting this evening. But there is a great precedent for contested elections in the United States. In fact, that's what the 12th Amendment is about. We've had a number of contested elections. Obviously, 1860, the election of Lincoln, the Rutherford v. Hayes, which resulted in the Compromise of 1876. Bush v. Gore, Al Gore refused to concede for months after that, and there were some riotous events. So what occurred at the Capitol on January 6th is very unfortunate, though it's been much lied about. It's worth pointing out that the only person who was killed in political violence that day was a Trump supporter who was killed by a trigger-happy cop. There's also a special irony to Democrats complaining about January 6th as the worst day in the history of this or any republic, because not only was it not the worst political violence in American history, it wasn't the worst political violence of that year. It followed the little prosecuted BLM riots that very same year, where Kamala Harris and staffers for Joe Biden actually bailed the rioters out of jail. But there's a greater irony, which is that there have been 5 or 6, depending on how you score it, attacks on the Capitol in American history. Virtually all of them have been perpetrated by radical leftists, a Marxist Harvard professor, Harvardman, of course. But then one in 1971 was perpetrated by Bill Ayers of the Weather Underground. Bill Ayers, in whose living room Barack Obama launched his political career. So it's very unfortunate that took place on January 6th. It's unfortunate that there were questions about the 2020 election, questions which arose because the election rules were radically changed in the weeks and months before the election, in some cases unconstitutionally, as in the case of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. It's also a bit strange that Nancy Pelosi took responsibility for not having sufficient security at the Capitol that day. She did that on camera. It was actually a film that her daughter made. You can easily go look it up. And it's very strange that some of the Capitol Police gave the leaders of the insurrection private tours of the Capitol, notably the aforementioned horn hat guy. But regardless, it's a great pity that it took place. I hope it doesn't take place again. And unfortunately, it's also not totally out of the norm for the United States, going back at least to the middle of the 19th century.
So glad you asked that question, because January 6th hadn't come up and it was a big issue from Trump's end of his first term. Mike Pence, we talked about Mike Pence, who Michael's a fan of.
Why does Mike Pence keep coming up?
Because you're a fan of his, and he was the vice president who didn't endorse the president for another term because he said he made me do unconstitutional stuff. He wanted me to violate my constitution. That's from Mike Pence's testimony. You want to dismiss it because you know there's comeback for it. You cite Al Gore. Al Gore never incited an insurrection. There is no precedent for January 6th. We were used to peaceful transfers of power. Richard Nixon agreed, even though he's probably robbed by JFK. Al Gore agreed, even though he's probably robbed by George W. Bush. Donald Trump actually lost, for sure, and he still didn't accept it and incited a riot. Michael says, Democrats thought it was the worst day in history. Do you know who said, bar none, it was the most horrifying day in American politics in my lifetime?
Mike Pence.
No. You guess again. Guess again. It was Ben Shapiro on January the 7th. He said it was the most horrifying day that I witnessed in American politics. A noted Democrat.
But I always disagree with that guy.
On January the 7th. So let's just deal with some facts here. The people who attacked the Capitol were not going on private tours. They were not just a horn hat guy. It was people like Daniel Rodriguez, who assaulted Michael Fanone, put him in a stroke, got 12 years in prison. The judge said he was an army of hate and violence. Donald Trump pardoned him. It was people like Andrew Paul Johnson, who was just sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing 2 children in Florida. Donald Trump pardoned him for January the 6th. He pardoned a neo-Nazi called Bradley Tyler Dykes, who did a Sieg Heil salute as he attacked police officers. These are the people Trump pardoned. Michael has never condemned Trump for that. Harry Sisson asked Michael on his show earlier this year, would you condemn Donald Trump for doing that? And he wouldn't answer the question. He said, I'll never condemn Donald Trump. Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning neo-Nazis, domestic abusers, pedophiles?
Well, hold on. Was he one?
Do you condemn Trump for pardoning?
I'm just asking a clarifying question about that guy. Was he one of the neo-Nazis who was getting $3 million from the SPLC, or was he a different neo-Nazi?
Nice diversion. I'm not Harry Sisson. I'll lose up my time. Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning neo-Nazis, violent criminals, people who assaulted 140 police officers on January the 6th?
One last real clarification.
You won't answer.
One last real clarification.
I'll ask you, simple question. Do you support pardoning the 600 people who were charged with assaulting police officers?
Pardon them for
like Daniel
pedophilia?
He pardoned them for assaulting police.
All right.
You support that.
All right.
Sometimes I oppose assaulting police. Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning 600 people who assaulted police officers? 4th time. Can you do it?
I'm happy to. I condemn pedophilia.
Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning?
And I condemn.
You won't do it.
You will. Agree. We have a debate format. We're going to stick to the debate format. We're not going to.
He doesn't want to stick to the debate.
We're going to stick to the debate format.
I don't answer the question.
I will have. I'm happy to answer on the substance if you like.
If you would like to, I'm going to respond however you
So obviously, Mehdi's being very, very dishonest. President Trump didn't pardon anybody for pedophilia or Nazism or whatever nonsense. If you'll allow me to finish. So what he pardoned them for is because there was a massive prosecution of thousands of people on January 6th that was politically motivated, that was disproportionate because the federal government had let all of the leftist rioters who, unlike the January 6thers, killed dozens of people and it resulted in over $1 billion worth of property damage, let them off the hook and in fact raised money to bail them out of jail. So because of the unjust prosecutions where you had Midwestern grannies who were not pedophiles or Nazis, but who were eccentric ladies who walked around, who walked around the Capitol despite all of the lies suggesting the police officers were killed. If that was not true, the coroners proved that. So he recognized that there was disproportionate prosecution. The same goes for the pro-life grannies who were arrested by Joe Biden, who were imprisoned for praying at abortion clinics. President Trump pardoned them. Now, on the pardon power, look, there are lots of bad pardons that go on. Joe Biden took it to an egregious degree. But the pardon power is absolute. And if we're here to defend the Constitution, we would have to defend the plain words of Article 2, which say the president has the pardon power.
Okay. Thank you both. I appreciate the sentiments. We're going to keep interruptions to a minimum.
This exchange demonstrated why debating January 6th often becomes so frustrating. Mehdi Hasan asked Michael Knowles a narrow and direct question about Donald Trump's decision to pardon people prosecuted for their actions at the Capitol, including defendants accused or convicted. Michael never gave the simple condemnation Mehdi was demanding. Instead, he repeatedly widened the discussion. He brought up the Black Lives Matter protests, previous attacks on government buildings, Democratic politicians, Joe Biden's pardons, and the constitutional authority presidents have to grant clemency. But none of those subjects answered the original question. The fact that other riots occurred does not determine whether the violence committed on January 6th was acceptable. The fact that other presidents issued controversial pardons does not explain whether Trump was right to erase the consequences faced by people who assaulted officers while attempting to disrupt the certification of an election. That is the central weakness of whataboutism. It does not defend the conduct being questioned. It simply points towards someone else and demands that the conversation move away from the original issue. Calling every prosecution political does not automatically make the underlying conduct disappear. Mehdi's strongest moment came when he separated the legality of presidential pardon power from the moral judgment surrounding how that power was used. Yes, the Constitution gives presidents broad authority to issue pardons, but possessing that authority does not make every pardon-wise responsible or defensible. A president can have the legal power to do something while still deserving condemnation for choosing to do it. Michael's answer essentially became, Trump had the power, other presidents have issued bad pardons, and many January 6th defendants were treated unfairly. But Mehdi was asking something much simpler. Was Trump wrong to pardon people who violently attack police officers? The unwillingness to answer that question directly became the answer. Another revealing part of the debate was Michael's attempt to compare January 6th with contested elections throughout American history. Disputed elections have certainly happened before. Al Gore challenged the 2000 election through the courts. Once the legal process ended, he conceded and participated in the peaceful transfer of power. That is fundamentally different from refusing to accept the outcome and continuing to pressure officials after every legitimate avenue has failed. Ultimately, Mehdi Hasan succeeded because he kept pulling the discussion back toward personal accountability. Michael Knowles wanted to debate every riot, pardon, prosecution, and political controversy except the one directly in front of him. What do you think? Who made the stronger argument? Share your opinion below and subscribe to Political Crossfire for more political debates and analysis.